Welcome to Node Mode. I am Node, here with the illustrious Italian stallion Pio, and this is the NFT podcast on digital art. We talk with artists, OG collectors, and smart AF degens about all things NFTs. As usual, nothing in this video is financial advice. We are not financial advisors, and the NFT space is incredibly risky, so please do your own research. And don't forget to hit the like button, smash that subscribe button, and share this content with your friends. We gather here today to worship and be taught from on high. In ancient times, plebs looked to the heavens to understand the world. They worshiped Thor, the god of thunder, or Hercules, the god of strength. However, new gods are needed in these modern times. Ladies and gentlemen, I exhort all ye to hearken and heed the voice of our divine guest, the god of NFTs, aptly named NFT God. Welcome to the show.
Oh my God. I mean, a lot of your intros for everyone you've had on is incredible. I got to say this one was the best. My intro was the best. Thank you.
Well deserved. Well deserved, man. Well deserved. I got to say, we're talking with divinity here, so I had to make sure it was a bit unique, a bit different. So I want to start off NFT God. I mean, before you became divine, we got to know about your past. How did you become this divine creature?
Yeah, man. So I've been in technology my entire life. I was a developer, studied computer science, went into tech consulting. Now I manage a team of tech consultants. But on the side, I've always had like a hobby for writing. And so I got into NFTs about a year and a half ago. I discovered Sandbox. That was like the first NFT I stumbled across. And this was like March 2021. And did a bunch of research, was totally blown away. Like that's how I discovered NFTs. And so at that time, I was actually running a traditional finance Twitter and a traditional finance blog for the fun of it, kind of like what I'm doing now. But I was so blown away by NFTs that I actually started building, I switched to NFT God. So I started like an NFT Twitter account, NFT blog. And so the background of the name is I wanted a name that caught people's attention. And NFT God, it was just like the first thing that came to my mind.
Genius, dude. I mean, you nailed it, dude. You nailed it. It's unforgettable, that's for sure.
And what's the website, NFT God?
It is a new website now. It is now nftgod.substack.com. I do have the custom domain nftgod.gives, which I will be transferring over to Substack shortly so that you can just go directly to my Substack there.
I love that. I love that.
I got the branding on lockdown.
Dude, yeah, you do, dude. For those unaware, this I was going to call you a man, but I have to remember you're a god at this point. So it's like this guy, this deity is an amazing writer. So when it comes to writing, so you mentioned you've always just kind of done that on the side. Is that something that you were like very intentional about? Like you always loved writing and you wanted to improve it? Or was it just naturally you enjoyed it? You kept it as a journal or something, and then here you are?
Naturally enjoyed it. So when I was a kid, my parents bought me a typewriter. I know I look like I'm 14, but I'm 32. And my kids, my parents bought me a typewriter. Like I would just like write stuff all the time on it. And then it was always just like a side hobby for me. And like I wrote about traditional finance when I got into stock investing. And so I was never been like intentional about improving as much, but I've just done it so much. And, I really like to look back at what I've written and see how I can improve it and make it more punchy. And it's kind of just evolved to where it is. And Twitter is just a great way to practice writing because that's all it is a writing platform. And I think that's been an amazing way to improve my writing.
I love that. Bro, I'm 36. And when I was a kid, I was typing on computers, man. I don't know where you came from, man. Was it just that you wanted the classic typewriter? I mean, I feel like there were no typewriters around when I was a kid, and I'm older than you.
My parents were like, how can we spend as little money as possible on this person? And I'm sure they went to like a yard sale and bought a typewriter.
That's actually cool because it's like very tactile, and you also like it's focused as well, right? Like the only thing you can do on it is write. So that's super cool, man. So gods are analog. Shout out to Witters. Love having Witters on the comments, man. She's the best.
Leafs 93 just said in the nifty Discord, bruv, Node's only 5 years older than NFT God and looks like his dad.
Yes, that's ridiculous. Okay, so let's start off and let's get a brief like masterclass on writing, because I feel like everybody that's listening, including myself, like Pio, I've mentioned this before. Pio sat me down and was like, "Hey, Node, you got to grow your Twitter following." And so, what should I do, NFT God, to grow my Twitter following? How do I become a better writer, specifically on Twitter, in order to kind of grow my audience and get some better networking in?
Yeah, rule number one in Twitter, in writing, and in life overall is don't be boring. That's just like rule number one. So everything you do, everything you write, if you click the NFT God Substack in the bio, that's the up to date newsletter.
I
Number one rule.
See this guy right here. I paid this guy for a consulting call in like 2019 for YouTube stuff. Do you know this guy?
I don't, but I linked to his YouTube video, and Review is a really stinky newsletter platform. So they just like took like the first image or first thumbnail and made that like the newsletter. I do not use that platform anymore. Okay. This is the one I now use, which you can click, let me read it first. Anyway, rule number one, do not be boring. So like whenever I'm writing a tweet or I'm writing a newsletter or a blog post, whatever it is, I write it out, I put down my idea in rough draft, and then I go back and I do number one, I eliminate as many words as humanly possible. Like words are just, the less words you have to say an idea, the more interesting and punchy it is. And then I just try to make it in a way more dramatic. And like the more dramatic, the more punchy something is, the more people will be interested and read it more. So tweets, it's all about a game of making it punchier, just eliminating words, making that first line as dramatic and attention grabbing as possible. And then just making it interesting. So putting like a personal story, putting action items. People love action items. Giving people action items gives them like a dopamine hit, and that'll keep them reading back more. So I always try to have action items. I always try to make it punchy, and I try to reduce the words. And if you do those things and just keep it interesting, then you got a good piece of content people will want to read.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good advice. Like the first one seems so simple, yet like half the time I'm tweeting, I'm not thinking don't be boring. I'm like, oh, I've got this thought. Let me put it out there. One other thing that I've noticed that works, like I did yesterday, is you make like a very bold statement and eliminate some nuance, and people will go after you. It's so fun if you're ready for the beef anyway. So that's super cool, man. So I mean, when it comes to tweeting, that's one thing. Do you similar things when it comes to writing an entire newsletter? Like, I feel like those are two different styles of writing, or do you kind of like view those as the same?
I view them the same. I have the same rules for both. Obviously, long form writing, you can go into a lot more details, put in a lot more information. I really enjoy writing the newsletter because it lets me expand on my ideas a lot more. But at the end of the day, when I'm editing, I still go back and try to reduce the amount of words for the ideas I'm writing, because it just makes it a lot more readable. And then I get to do a lot more personal things with the newsletter. So I try to do personal things with the tweets. Like you can write a tweet and at the end say, what do you think, or anything to add? That's really the only way you can get personal with 280 characters. But with the newsletters, one thing I really love to do is I'll put prompts for people to email me back, because I really enjoy that back and forth and that connection. And I just don't think a lot of newsletters do that. So a lot of the time in my newsletter, you can just get a lot more personal. You can add a lot more things, give bigger prompts that are bigger than just, what do you think about this? Which is like all you can do on Twitter. So same rules apply. Don't be boring, less words, and be really punchy.
Love that. I've noticed Twitter kind of forces you to do less words half the time, right? So I'll be writing a tweet and it's way too long. And then I go back, I'm like, oh, I can actually remove enough words to make this thing fit, which tells me I'm way too wordy, right? So that's super helpful. So we've got writing in the bag. Let's go straight to habits. Like, I feel like you are becoming the Web3 self-improvement guy, teaching us all how to become better humans. What are some of like your favorite habits, whether it's a morning routine or whatever, when it comes to, why don't we focus on the NFT space first? What are some of your favorite habits that help you be like more effective in the day-to-day here?
Yeah, for sure. And a little background, like the habits thing, I didn't really start tweeting about habits until like June, because that's really when my audience started picking up. And my whole content styles. I just like tweet things I learn. And as my platform is growing, I needed to have better habits to do things like create better content or just be more mentally balanced, because it can be difficult sometimes when you're getting, the billion dopamines hits you get from, producing content and getting a lot of likes. So that's why I started tweeting about habits, as I learned those things as I went. But habits that help me out, in the NFT space, I'm a much more conservative trader. I find that if I'm making impulse decisions, if I'm trading on emotion, I lose 100% of the time. So a lot of time before I buy something, I kind of stop, I pause, I think about, okay, why is this going to make me money in 6 months? Why is this going to be worth more in a year? I think, okay, is my emotions taking over right now? So one of my habits for NFTs that I think is probably the most impactful is just reflection before I do anything, and just being really honest with myself. Because I find that almost all my trades that go the wrong way is because I let emotion take over, and it made me do something I almost instantly regret. So that's probably the biggest habit I would recommend from the NFT side.
It's genius. I mean, eliminating the FOMO, right, is I've made so many poor decisions based on that. So before we go any further, I know Pio's, he's a man of the content. I imagine he's got some questions for you when it comes to writing, producing stuff. So I'll let Pio ask you a couple of questions on the content side, because I feel like, you two are definitely at another level. Pio, you're muted, dog.
I was saying, I don't know about that, Node. You're no slouch. NFT God, it seems like your strongest, platform is written right now, but you've been contributing a lot on Twitter Spaces, and it seems like now you're getting interested in YouTube. What do you see as like the long-term, like kind of content play for you? Are you going to try to just go all in and do like every platform? Are you going to stick to writing? Like what's your goal?
Yeah, it's a good question. I get it a lot. Honestly, I don't have any goals. I'm more about direction rather than goal. And what I mean by that is, I think goals change a lot. And I think sometimes you can lose perspective if you're constantly thinking about goals. So what I try to do instead is focus on direction. I try to make sure the next thing I'm doing is the correct thing. So I don't know what the end game of NFT God is, but I just know I want to slowly expand, slowly do the right thing, and make sure I'm going in the right direction. You're right. I've slowly started expanding into spaces. I've been joining them a little bit more. I first of all really enjoy the back and forth on spaces, the kind of mental sparring that goes on in a lot of these different spaces. I think is like a life skill that translates to a lot of different areas. So I really enjoy exercising that muscle of just going on spaces and going back and forth. YouTube, I'm always happy to do YouTube. I really enjoy creating content like this. So for me, everything has just naturally progressed over the last 10 months. I started tweeting on December 28th, 2021. And for me, it was just kind of tweeting, and it evolved into threads, and it evolved into the newsletter. And now it's evolving into spaces and YouTube. And for me, I just want to take the next right step and build my brand the right way. Everything I'm doing is with the long term in mind. And so I just want to make sure every step I take contributes that long-term vision. So from a goals perspective, don't really have any. From a direction perspective, I just want to make sure I'm always just doing the next right thing for me.
Did you ever think that you were going to do this? Like 3 years ago, did you think like you were going to be focused on content creation, like video stuff and audio podcasting and writing with people reading it? Did you ever did you see that this was going to be in your future?
It's funny. It's something I've always been working towards. So before I was doing traditional finance, tweeting and blogging. Before that, I was actually doing sports, tweeting and blogging. So me and a bunch of my friends from the area I grew up in, I was running the Twitter. I was writing blogs. I was building the website around it. And so I never thought, okay, I'm going to be doing a lot more of this. It's just always something I had as a hobby because I loved it. But out of the three kind of areas I've been creating content in, sports and then traditional finance and then NFTs is the one that's kind of taken off the quickest and seems to be the one where I've filled the market gap the best out of all three.
That makes sense. Is there one of these types of content that you enjoy the most? Like I know you have the least experience with what we're doing right now, which is like basically a YouTube podcast, but you have a good amount of audio podcast experience now with Twitter Spaces and obviously a ton of writing experience. Is there one area that's your favorite?
No, I love them all. And what I love the most is doing all of them differently. I think they all flex different muscles. Like today, I did a space with Ryan Carson, and then I finished my newsletter, and now I'm doing this. And that just going back and forth and kind of doing a lot of different things is, I just find incredibly enjoyable. And you kind of see it in my content too. You know, I tweet about technology and how to program, and then I'll tweet about self-improvement habits, and then I'll tweet a hot take on NFTs. And I think that kind of dynamic way of approaching things is just a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Kudos to you on that, man. Like, it feels like to me, writing is so much harder. That like hanging out on YouTube or on Twitter Spaces is fun and it's a conversation. And writing, you really have to use your brain. So I'm impressed that you like it all equally and that you just feel like you can pop from one to the next. That's amazing. So I want to dive into like I want to figure out how we can think like you. That's what I want to figure out. So what are some of the skills you feel like from your previous jobs or, you know, what like hobbies that you had that you feel like have translated really well to the NFT space?
Yeah, I think, you know, a skill that's really critical is emotional intelligence. And what I mean by that is in the fields I've worked on, I manage a team of tech consultants. I work with a lot of different people on a daily basis. I work with different clients and companies and stakeholders. And I've learned how to talk to a lot of different people. And I learned the way a lot of different people communicate. Everyone needs to be talked to differently. And I think that's translated really well to the NFT space. So you go on a stage and you're talking to a lot of different people, and there might be more analytical thinkers, there might be more emotional thinkers, and learning who your audience is and the way they communicate and the way they talk, and learning the things you can say that brings ideas out of them and brings the best out of those around you. I think that skill set, something I've been learning in my career, that's translated really well here, where I can go on a Twitter stage, like go on the Nifty in the morning and talk to a lot of different people and be able to give opinions and know what people are going to enjoy and have the awareness of what they're going to like, but also have the awareness of what's going to bring out ideas out of them. So we can have that back and forth. And the same thing goes into my newsletter, knowing like what I can write and what I can talk about and the takes I can have that will get people thinking and have a conversation back and forth. And it's something I've had to do in my career for the last, I guess, 10 years now. And I think it's something that translates really well into content. It's just knowing your reader, knowing who you're interacting with and what gets them going.
Yeah, I love that. What about on the trading side? Like, do you have skills that have translated from previous jobs to trading?
No, I am not the best trader. I've learned what my weaknesses are. I haven't built a ton of strengths, but I know what my weaknesses are. So I know what to avoid. But you know, I find a lot more enjoyment from creating content now. So I do a lot less trading, but I still, you know, want to be involved in the space. So I still do trade. I still make buys here and there, but none of my skills from my career translate to trading. And I think that reflects in my performance, but it's still a very enjoyable thing to do. And, you know, it's now I'm much more of a collector rather than a trader.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trending that same direction, right? Where I want to hold something longer term. It sounds like is that what you're kind of interested in doing now, is just holding something a little longer than a month or 2 or 3?
Yeah, when I buy, I think, okay, how is this going to be worth more in a year? How's it going to be worth more in 5 years? Because it's a lot less stressful to make those long-term decisions than buying something and having to check every day if it's going up or down. And especially when you've got a lot of things going on, you know, if you got a job and you got family or you got other things and you're creating content, I just don't want to be thinking about the movements of my positions all day. And so I'm purely a 1 to 2 year time horizon.
I love that. So with that longer term time horizon, where do you think we're headed as an industry in general? Like, do you see what category or aspects of NFTs do you feel like have some staying power, or do you feel like there's new trends that are coming up soon?
The two categories I think have the most real world value are art and community, right? So I'm buying things because of the art. because I think they look beautiful or I have some sort of connection with it. And I think NFTs truly have revolutionized the art world due to provenance and other things involved with it, the more digital art form. So I'm big into art, and then community. I mean, you buy a nifty portal, for instance, and you're part of the community and you make friends and you talk to people. Web3 is really incredible how you can make friends so quickly and be part of communities, and NFTs, just the access pass aspect of them is something that I don't think has ever been mainstream and is now becoming mainstream because of it. So I'm really interested in access passes that give me access to interesting communities with interesting people in it. So I think those are the two utilities that have the most real world impact. Like PFPs, I think that's pretty cool. Like I built my brand off my PFP. I haven't really built a brand on anything else before. So that's interesting utility. But I'm not interested in, Ponzi-nomics or things like that, or buying NFTs for the sake of getting other free things. That I don't think that's like real long lasting utility. But I think the art side is super, super interesting. And then the community passes, the connections I've made because of them over the last 10 months has been, life-changing.
Yeah. By the way, someone in the comments was saying you can retire your PFP and just do your face now. So they think you're a beautiful human. They like your face. So there you have it, dude. The commenters want that. So yeah, I mean, people are asking. They want to know what are some of the things that you've bought recently. What things have you been checking out?
Yeah. So from the art perspective, I am into Grant Yoon. That's been like the artist I've really gotten into. So you're a step ahead of me here. This has been the piece I picked up.
How did you do that, Pio?
What?
I mean, you typed in, like, for those that are listening and not watching, Pio typed in Grant Yun right before NFT God said it. Like it was like telepathy.
We're connected. We're reading each other's minds.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo, Node.
Well, yeah. Pio just knows what they're gonna say before they say it. He's like, here's a little tip, Node.
No,
here's
I
how you
knew
get good.
He said on the show that he bought Grand Yin the other day, so I just
geez.
Everyone loves Grand Yin. Every call I have, I was literally at the doctor's office the other day. The doctor's just telling me about Grand Yin. I was like, all right, wow, he's really penetrated everywhere. Just kidding, but
dang, I need to pick up a piece. He followed me yesterday, dude. So I gotta make sure we gotta like buy some of his stuff now.
He noticeably did not follow me.
He noticeably did not follow me, despite the fact that I
You
tweeted
own it.
about him. He liked it, replied, and still did not follow.
Because you got that mutant, man. You're a piece of shit in his
Hey, don't worry. As you all know, my idol is DC Investor, and he followed me yesterday too. Yesterday was a good day. It only took me a year and a half of simping on all of his tweets to get that follow, man. It was a big deal. So
still doesn't follow me.
Dude, he only follows like 600 people. He's a stingy follower, man. He only follows like 600. So I feel blessed. So anyway, let's get back to Grant Yun. What have you bought one of these editions here?
So this is the edition I bought. I believe that if he takes off as an artist, then the kind of cheaper ones will move up with it. It's kind of like how I only invest in floor pieces for like PFPs and other collections, because I believe if the collection takes off, obviously the floor is kind of the most liquid and the one you can get in easiest. So I liked this piece. It was the easiest entry to Grant Yun. And, if he truly takes off, which I guess you can really consider, he probably already took off. But, if he really takes it to that next level, I believe these editions, which I think there's only a supply of 300 or so, probably a good entry point. So I love this. I can see it hanging on my wall. I also can see it hanging in my metaverse house one day. Which, I was having an interesting conversation on a space last night. And we were talking about lands, like Sandbox versus other side versus this versus that. And someone came up and said, I don't buy any of the lands. I'm just buying like artwork and 3D statues and 3D artwork, because no matter which land wins, the artwork will be relevant. So if you buy the land and it fails, it's going to zero, right? But if you buy the artwork for it, it'll always be relevant no matter which metaverse wins. So I've totally shifted my mindset. I'm trying to pick up just as much of this art that I think is interesting and think about what will look good in my future metaverse home.
That's awesome. Yesterday, Chris Bennett, I mean, it's like everyone's saying the same thing. All the smartest people are like, yeah, Grant Yun. And Chris's view was this is going to he hasn't even taken off like comparatively. So that could be a big deal. I love that. What are your thoughts on editions in general? Like, I have a hard time trying to wrap my mind around editions. Like, I understand it. I get it. They're prints, it's like a print. But at the same time, it feels less cool than like a signed print or a numbered print to me. Even though it's all the same stuff, just digital.
For sure.
But what are your thoughts when it comes to, like, for me, I struggle wanting to buy large edition sizes. Do you have like any rules when it comes to buying editions?
No, I agree. I mean, obviously, I'd want a one-on-one or a unique piece before getting an edition. It depends if it's like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 supply edition. Just the economics don't add up. That's the interesting part about NFTs is you can be talking about art, but the economics still play a factor, and that's what really makes a lot of these collections interesting. I was looking at the Grant Yun, the edition, and it's only a collection, I think, of 300, and the unique owners is also I think really good if I remember correctly. So it might be an edition, there might be multiple of them, and obviously I'd rather have it one-on-one, but to me the economics of the edition really made sense, where it was 300, which I think is really, really low, and the unique ownership was very good. So I really didn't have a problem getting into that edition. If there was honestly like 10,000 of them and the unique owners were under 50%, no matter how much I like Grant Yun, the economics of the collection just don't make sense to me. So I probably would not get in. But for me, this kind of made sense. I would rather not have an edition, but this felt like a good, smart, sound way to get into the artist.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Grant Yun. So you've mentioned recently, over the last kind of month or two, especially, that you've been definitely focusing more on the art side. What do you look for when you're buying art? A lot of people are always asking me the same question. I love to hear it from our guests.
I just look for things that speak to me and I think would look good on my wall. That's like the two things. I think something like this, kind of the flat artwork style, looks very good in digital and will look very good on my wall. And so I really liked it, and I really liked it, and it really spoke to me, kind of all the Grant Yun pieces of work. So I instantly felt a connection with it. And also, he has this way about it, I'm sure it's very intentional, where just the way the shadows and the lighting kind of line up, it feels like it was done very intentionally.
Yeah.
There's this one piece, I forget the name of it, but it's like a cross street, and there's like cars going up one way and cars going the other way. And the way the shadows touch each other, it was interesting the way it was laid out. And so everything on this very simple, flat piece of art seems very intentional. And that just kind of spoke to me. So I really liked that aspect of it a lot.
I'm gonna end up buying one of these editions eventually, man. It's just bound to happen. Okay, so aside from Grant Yun, where else are you looking? What else? What other artists are you looking at?
Yeah, well, so I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out Rust while on this, because he made me a one of one. So I had to, give him a shout out on the show. I was doing a little research though in preparation for the show, just so I can, sound very educated for this conversation. And I was going through a large list that Mr. Wizard DM'd to me. And one I really liked was Corey Van Loo. I don't know if it's a he or she, but
it's a guy.
Corey Van Loo. It's a guy? Okay, good.
Good? If it was a woman, it'd be a problem. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding.
So we got to get these pronouns right.
Correct. Definitely. I like the colors. I think this would look super cool in like a digital world. And so I really like this. And I haven't picked any up. I'm being very careful with, what I invest in. I went to Corey's, his other listing site. So I didn't look at any of these, the super rare, I guess it was. And he I had all his one-on-ones, and they looked really, really cool. So I'm just kind of into the colors of these pieces, and they're a lesser known one. I also like Fuck Render. I bought a lot of his PFP collection. the avatars. And from a price perspective, they haven't done fantastic, but for some reason, this art kind of spoke to me. And this is like the only collection ever that I bought way above floor a piece just because I really liked the way they looked. The floor ones are, all right, but some of the rare ones are really incredible looking. And so this is one of the only collections ever I bought a rare one. And, the price has gone down, yes, but I like the art. So I honestly have no issue whatsoever holding it. Some of these rare ones are super cool.
Do you know what they're up to? Like, I haven't paid attention to this artist in a long time. Like, are they just continuing to produce art, or is the avatar, are these going to turn into something else? What's the play here with all of these?
Yeah, he started making an art metaverse. So I play, if you go on his website, you can actually play around with it. It's very interesting. It's this audio visual experience. I think it's called Lucidia. If you search for Lucidia, LV instead of U. Yeah. And it's this really interesting visual audio experience where it's built out on Unreal Engine. You can walk around and the audio is incredible. The visuals are really incredible. And this was one of the reasons I bought into the project, because I just thought this was a very unique digital experience. And so this was part for me. So what he's working on is bringing in the avatars into this metaverse. And like, do I think this is the future metaverse everyone will be walking around? Probably not. But I just thought this was a really unique, interesting thing that proves he has a team behind him and proves he has a creative vision. And so that's what gave me a little bit of faith to make an investment into his work.
That's cool. I mean, I like everything I'm seeing so far, and it's taking a while to load, but shout out to Pio for just crushing those captchas, man. You just nailed it, dude.
There was a little piece of the fire hydrant. I wasn't sure if you were going to click on that square or not, but
he clicked so fast. It was like instantaneous, dude. These young guns out here, man, they can just move.
He's a pro's pro.
Yes. Well, I don't know if they're going to let us join the collective dream, as it were, in trying to get into this metaverse. But I do. That's cool. I at least the splash page looked great. Like the homepage looked great, and I like that he's still trying to build stuff. So that's awesome, man. Are you looking at any generative art at all?
Not yet. I've been looking at it. Obviously, I looked at QQL. I'm not super into it yet. It doesn't speak to me, the generative art. And it's funny because I'm like a nerd. I programmed for a very long time. I was a developer. I studied computer science, and I very much respect code and the art of code. But the generative art, I haven't found any collections just yet that speak to me, honestly. And so because of that, I haven't really made the move in. And if, the visual experience, this is kind of half of it. The audio is really amazing too. If you ever put on just like a pair of over-the-ear headphones and go around in this.
This is cool. Yeah. For those not watching, we've now finally entered the universe here of this art universe. And now it's gone.
They're teleporting you into a different dream.
There we go. Wow. Okay. This is actually cool. Like it feels like an experience. Like we're now teleporting through another planet into another solar system. Very immersive, I would say. Look at that.
Yeah, imagine this in VR.
Yeah, it's crazy. In VR, this would be absolutely insane. Maybe when VR catches up, if he keeps working on this, the market will favor his work again, because it's down bad. So it would be nice if the market favored it in the same way that it's favoring other artists. This is really cool.
I think it's hard too, right? Because he did a PFP, right? So when you got the high supply, you got the PFP stuff, it kind of changes the game a little bit. Whereas if he maybe had focused solely on the art, would have been an easier way to go. I don't know what would have happened, but this is cool. Like we're like scaling a mountain, yeah, it's interesting for sure. So yeah, we gotta find a way to convert you, NFT God, to the gen art scene, man. I do get what you're saying. Like it may not be for everyone. And some of the ones that I think are the most impressive are the collections that feel like there's just no way that code did this, right? And so maybe that's part of it is a lot of them feel like they're just a bunch of patterns and things like that. But the ones that just are so beautiful, you're like, is this done by a computer? Like those are the ones that for me really speak to me. So
I do think QQL is the best looking generative art collection I've ever seen. Like I was scrolling through the ones that have been generated so far, and I really like them. I don't know if I'm prepared to make an investment just yet. I feel like I want to dip my toes first, kind of how I bought a Grant Young, edition. But I do believe the artwork is really good looking, and I just got to get my tastes up a little bit. I got to become a little more sophisticated to really, understand this.
It's just hard because you can love the art, like you can love the art, but that doesn't mean that you're not buying it at a high price compared to what it's worth in the future, no matter what it is, including this, right? That's the thing. And that's what people need to understand is like, yes, this is Tyler Hobbs. Yes, that's incredible. It might be horrendously underpriced right now. And we should all be like, selling everything we have in our entire lives and getting our entire families to just buy this. And then in 5 years, it goes up by a 20x, right? And it was like, we were geniuses. Or this stuff could be 2x what it'll be in 4 months. It's so impossible to tell. But the nice thing is that we're so insanely early on all this that it's almost like you have to think that over the next it's just a very insanely risky game because artists can fall horribly out of favor. Damien Hirst, his pieces are down like 60% in the traditional art world over the past decade. So like people that were buying back then felt like they were like, yo, I'm buying into this guy, Damien Hirst, who's just going to absolutely like the price is going to go to the moon. And it turns out they were buying the top, so it's tough.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's so hard. I think art is definitely one of the most challenging if you're looking at it from investing, right? So most people, it's like you just gotta love what you purchase. So one of the recurring themes. Dude. Oh, dude, look at that. That one's interesting.
That's a beaut.
The genius of the QQL thing is like we mentioned this before, but I'll say it again: is that because you can create an infinite number of outputs, you can then curate amazing things, right? So you can really do, whereas in some ways that's very cool, but in some ways it's almost like it makes it easier for the collection to look good. Whereas like a code that, some kind of code that's written that is restricted to 1,000 purely random outputs and it has to look good, like that almost feels more challenging to me, right? But Tyler Hobbs has clearly done both, so he gets to play around however he wants. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing because you scroll through these and it seems like every single one is a hit. Like there's very few misses in this collection. And so, out of all the generative art I've seen, like this to me speaks to me the most out of anything. The idea of spending, $20,000 on an entry piece of a generative art collection seems risky in the middle of a deep bear market, but these are for sure beautiful.
Man, yeah. I want to just get one really bad and then get like a literal. So I got the plug. I'm not telling anybody what it is until I really flex on Twitter like 5 times. I got canvas reproduction on deck. I got one piece coming already just to make sure that it's on point. And then I'm probably gonna be like, let's talk about me ordering 3 things right now and what kind of a discount I can get on that. And I would just slap like a literal 7 or 8 foot canvas reproduction of one of these, like onto one of these walls or something like that, and just take a picture and drop it on Twitter and get hella engagement and just like basically flex on all the people that think that they're collecting art and really just start a run on that where guys like DC Investor wake up and they're like, oh, so I got to get canvas reproductions of all this art block stuff that I own and fill my house with it like a badass. So I'm ready to just basically drop the hammer on DC Investor node.
Dude, you're already behind, man. DC's already got like ringers lining his walls in his hallway.
Does he?
Yeah, printed versions.
Wait till he sees my canvas repro, bro.
On canvas.
Hand painted by a human.
Right. And wait till you guys see my canvas reproduction.
Dang,
wait a minute, NFT God. Oh, wow. Look at that. That's a canvas print. That's not a hand painted version, but it's nonetheless incredible.
Yeah, so think about it. Yeah, I'm already one step ahead of you guys. It did not get me good engagement for the record.
Because it's not a repro. That's why. And it's not like 8 feet by 8 feet. Got to go hard. Anyway.
Got to go big.
You can't get that in 8 feet by 8 feet. You have that on your wall 8 feet by 8 feet. No one wants to come over your place anymore.
I think about that. Yeah, that's true.
That's awesome, man. Well, I wanted to hit on, one of the recurring themes we have is like looking at different chains. Have you checked out Sol or Tezos at all?
Sol. So I made Ute List, and so I owned one of those. Now I got the Sol on deck just in case anything interesting comes up. I looked at the art a little bit. Nothing really spoke to me. Tezos, there's some really interesting things. I actually just made a Tezos wallet last night, and someone DM'd me and they sent me one of their pieces of work through Tezos. It was like some sort of graffiti work, which is really cool. But I am definitely in the next couple of weeks going to get into Tezos artwork. It's a lot lower of an entry point, and there's so many more different styles. And so you really can't lose. If you just buy something on for the cheap, just something that just speaks to you, you know, worst case scenario, you have a really cool piece of art that you can hopefully one day flex in a digital space, or best case scenario goes up way in value, and then they move to a different blockchain, and now all of a sudden you're like way ahead of the game. So I have been looking at Tezos. It is really, really cool. And I like that, you know, it seems to be ahead of its time, in which I do believe in the future, NFTs will be a lot cheaper. As in, if you want to buy an NFT, like the entry price will be like $5, and Tezos is already kind of there. And so that's why I've really been enjoying going through Object and looking through all the artwork.
Yeah, I continue to be amazed. Like, there's a really strong culture over there, and so much good art. And for whatever reason, you know, it's kind of like the secondary, or it's actually the tertiary platform when it comes to NFTs. But it's like an artist's artists love Tezos. You know what I mean? So like the artists themselves, for whatever reason, they love Tezos, even though I think the chain is probably garbage. Like they just like the scene over there, and so great. Like, more power to them. I'd love to see things like maybe on Arbitrum or something at some point, but it feels like this one's pretty set in stone. I don't know.
Tezos is a vibe. People just like the vibe of Tezos. There's nothing different about the blockchain. It's just, that's the art chain. So yeah, some of these are just really cool and really well done. You can tell people put a lot of time and effort into it. So I got my wallet made. I'm definitely going to be filling it up with different things over the next couple of weeks on Tezos.
Tezos won't be around in 15 years.
Well, I look forward to moving it over to different blockchain.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah. I'm not saying that your art is, that's not what I'm saying, but like, I don't know.
I would agree. You know, we were chatting with Brinkman too, right? Didn't he say like, oh yeah, I've thought about that. And I'm like, I've figured out, I'm just going to find ways to wrap it and move things over if I'm ever on a different chain that doesn't last. So that's cool, man. Okay. So we've talked about a couple of your artists. Anyone else that you've been looking into, or any categories in general that you feel like deserve a little bit of a spotlight?
The last one I'll do is, I think I'm going to pronounce their name correctly, Joe Pease. He does the kind of motion artwork, like the really kind of trippy motion artwork. Joe Pease.
Joe Pease. There we go.
Like that?
It's 2 words. So his first name is Joe, Joe. Yeah.
No, not this guy.
Not that guy.
not that guy. Sorry.
Shout out Joe Pease with an E. So Joe.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, gotcha. Well, we got old Joe Pease.
Shout out that Joe Pease.
She seems to be doing great.
Is this the correct Joe Pease?
Yeah. So if you click on, for instance, really anything. Yeah, this is.
This is crazy.
I've seen this. This was on Twitter big time a while ago. I forgot about this. Dude, this is sick, dude. Just watch it. It's so sick. And they move it around.
Gnarly, yeah.
When I saw this for the first time, I literally sat at my desk for an hour and a half watching this on loop over and over and over again.
This is crazy, man. This is
his most famous piece.
I don't really understand like how this is created from a filmmaking perspective. This is insane. Are these all just 3D models?
No, I think this is real film.
That's like a person. Those
wow.
are people, dude.
That's just edited.
And with the car, I mean, he's amazing at manipulating objects. I just don't get how you can get the underside of the car. Like, this is insane. This is crazy.
And there's sound to it too. The sound matches up really well to the video. It's all an experience. It's incredible.
That's crazy. Wow. From a filmmaking perspective, this guy's doing unique stuff that you can, I mean, being original in anything's really hard. Like because I have experience with filmmaking, that's the thing that always like, I marvel at. I just like, it's unbelievable when you innovate in filmmaking. That's why I'm obsessed with Ari Aster, the director. This guy's blowing my mind right now. I feel like this guy would make like the coolest music videos of all time, and I'd be surprised if he hasn't done music videos. I feel like he's built for music video directing.
It feels kind of cool that I came on this art podcast and turned the host on to a new artist I never heard of before. Like, I feel like that's the win of the show.
100% it is, dude. Yeah. It does. So does he sell his stuff as one of ones, or how does he sell his work?
Man, I wish you didn't ask me that. This was the extent of my research was looking at all his artwork. I didn't really do too much research on how much any of it costs or where to buy it, but I've just been going through and looking at all his art, and I've really enjoyed it.
Dude, that's cool.
He's on super rare.
Oh, there he is. He's on super rare.
Last sale was 60 grand. Woo!
Oh,
Joe
there you
Pease
go.
blew up. Wow, this is crazy, man. He's a crazy filmmaker.
Truly unique, right?
It's really hard to be original like this. It's just insanely challenging. And to make it something that's this compelling is, I mean, look, it's just like the hardest thing you can do. So shout out to Joe Pease. Good job, buddy. You're a genius.
What's amazing is like there's this feeling when you look at it that your brain can't quite comprehend how it was made. And it's a really interesting, unique feeling that you don't get much. And so when you watch like the one with the car spinning, you really just can't comprehend how the hell it was made, which I think is so cool.
This one is completely insane. This is so
cool.
This is so good. This guy could do the intro to any show that HBO is about to drop. Like you want an intro? Call Joe Pease. Like he'll literally make you an intro. Like that stupid show Westworld, the whole show's built on their stupid intro song. If there wasn't the intro song, there's no Westworld. That the whole show
stinks.
Yeah, that show's built on the back of that intro.
Come on, dude. The first season was epic, dude. Epic. I loved it.
Every season stunk.
I watched the first episode.
You watched every season and you hated it. That's like a total lie. If you hate it, you won't make it past season 1, dude.
I watched maybe 2 episodes of season 1, and then I went on with my life. And then my roommate at the time goes, he's like, people are saying he was all in on it. He was always all in on bullshit. And he goes, what they're saying is the last episode of the first season could have been the first episode. I was like, you know what that means is the whole season stunk. And so anyway, but this artist is awesome. This artist is incredible.
You got to get him on the show. I just, you gotta DM him after this.
Oh, we'll definitely have to take a look, man. This is so cool.
He's a little too classy for us. I mean, look at this. This stuff is crazy, man. No, I'd love to have him on the show. He's incredible. I'm surprised I've never seen any of his stuff before, man. He needs, look, we're rolling out the Artist Spotlight series. On paper, I would say that he's too successful for the Artist Spotlight series. It's meant to be emerging artists. And if this guy's dropping $60,000 sales, like it's no big deal, I feel like on paper, he's too established. But at the same time, the fact that me and No didn't know who he was, that kind of makes me feel like we could have him included in the Artist Spotlight series. But regardless, it's like video collage, photo manipulation art. It's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember seeing that very first one a while back that you showed, NFT God. It was so good, but I didn't think twice about it. I should have. I bet I could have bought some of his work back then. It was like 6 months ago for a reasonable price. So no, that's amazing, man. Well, dude, thank you for joining the show. We got to give the listeners one last bit of alpha from NFT God. What advice would you give to the people just out there trying to make it? You know, what's a couple things that you would give to a buddy that said, "Hey, I'm just getting into this whole space. What should I do?"
Yeah, it's 2 things. The first one is the advice that everyone gives on Twitter now, which is be consistent. But the second one is equally, if not more important, and that is be honest with yourself. So as you're being consistent and as you're building content, really reflect on what you're doing, what's working, if it's catching on, if you're finding your voice, and reflect and figure out what you need to tinker and what you need to change. For me, I started tweeting back in December last year. I've written 2 tweets a day every day since. I've written 2 to 3 threads a week, every single week since. 90% of those threads got under 10 likes. And so I really had to, in that time, figure out, okay, what's going on? Why aren't people reading this? What works? What doesn't? And you just got to be able to withstand a lot of pain of not being seen. And then along the way, tinker, experiment, figure out what works, and just be honest with yourself and improve. And that's really how you're going to find your voice.
Love it. Thank you so much, man.
Amazing like advice there, NFT God. Just stick with it, and if you just stick with it and don't get discouraged. I mean, the only thing I would add to it is, like, I'm big on team. And when you plug in to a team, that's like something that can help you like stay motivated, because I feel like a lot of people, they get in and forget about dipping their toe in. They dip their whole foot in, but they never fully submerge because they get discouraged from the stuff that you're talking about. And sometimes that team can help you actually take the dive, you know?
Yeah, build a network. I mean, that's what's great about Web3 is it's so easy just to talk to new people, DM them, whatever it is. It's a very tight-knit community. So build a network along the way, and it gets a lot easier.
Love it. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you later.
Node mode, bitches.